Good evening, good time zone, and warm greetings to wherever you are in the world. This is Amelia, aka Spaced Out Puffin, and it is time to read the last chapter of Heaven Official's Blessing, Volume 2, which is so dissonant to me. Like ending the aesthetic era of the Crown Prince of Xianle right after we finally got to it. I can't believe Volume 2 has just been, 120 pages of Xianle past. It just really doesn't work out with the aesthetic that we've been going for. Well, alas, at least His Highness will keep me company forever and always. And also little George. Which reminds me, I got feedback on my tier list video where I ranked all the characters from Season 2 of Heaven Official's Blessing. And I completely forgot to include one of the most riveting character arcs that we've seen throughout the series. Butterfly number 108. George. I completely forgot to put him up on the board. So here's a reminder to myself to make sure to print that picture and add it to the character tier list board. Because that is such a riveting story. A story of courage, of sacrifice, of falling from grace, and then a brilliant redemption arc. George the Butterfly is one of the best characters in the entire show, honestly. So I can't believe that I forgot about him. As for where we would rank George, he's at least B tier, I'll say that much. Probably A tier, I'll have to think about it. But remind me to print a picture of George, because he needs to go up on the board. For now, he'll sit here in His Highness's hands. And you can sit over here on top of the little lotus pad, guarding it in case I need it later. Though I am hoping not to. But yes, we are in the Xianle past, finally. And I am already nervous that we are going to be thrown back into the present way too quickly. We've only been here for 2 days. I mean, what a 2 days it's been, but still, 2 days. We haven't even seen all the scenes that are in the short film yet. Our boy hasn't even ascended yet. Or gone through that second tribulation he's supposed to go through, beating that ghost on the bridge or whatever. But again, all that said, I am having a great and terrible time with this book. They explain so much. Everything just makes a lot more sense all of a sudden. Character motivations, some backstory things that just, when you get to it and you go oh yeah, that makes sense. But there are also completely new things, such as the State Preceptor of Xianle. We learned that there are actually several State Preceptors, one head State Preceptor and then 3 deputy ones. And this guy is likely the head State Preceptor. He is also a card game addict, a Xie Lian best character truther, and he's generally stressed out and not having a good time a lot of the time. And overall, a mood. I have never seen a more accurate depiction of a teacher in media. And also, he's just jinxed his entire kingdom into the anticipated fall of Xianle. Look at him. I am currently on the theory train of this guy is gonna become this guy. I have several by Wuxiang theories, to be honest. I am very, very sure that he is somehow connected to Lang Ying, who is over here somewhere now. Right here. I think that Bandage Kid is connected to whereby Wuxiang is now. But as for whereby Wuxiang came from, this guy is quickly climbing the list of candidates, is what I'm saying. I made jokes about it, that he's been making, these things happen, basically, by jinxing the future in his head. Oh, I wish a rebel army would come marching right now. So I'm just saying, when that finally happens, I wonder what his thoughts are gonna be. But of course, I have not forgotten. Yeah, my Xie Lian by Wuxiang theory originated in that one art book that I saw, that I got from the Volume 8 special edition. And while I haven't looked at it since, I still remember vividly that the laugh smile mask, it is there. But wouldn't it make sense for Bai Wuxiang to be, Xie Lian's teacher? And then for Xie Lian to have some sort of psychological thing about that? I don't know, I'm just throwing it into the wind here, but I haven't forgotten about it, is what I'm trying to say. And as Xianle has not yet fallen, I am still waiting for a by Wuxiang introduction into the story, and I'm betting it's going to be around the time when things starts going to shed, right? I don't know if he's gonna appear before that as an ominous sign of things about to go to shit, or if he's gonna appear after. Like maybe after the disappearance of the State Preceptor, aka his death. We'll see, won't we? But while Bai Wuxiang is not here, the Xianle Trio is here. The Baby Xianle Trio still getting to know each other. Oh, and they exist because Xie Lian sees people as rocks. His words, not mine. But then again, I do actually find that kind of neat. It's cute. The fact that Xie Lian desperately wants to make friends with Wuxiang as well as Feng Xin because they are great at martial arts. They have the talent for it, more so than anyone else. So let's talk the Xianle Trio. And let's start with Xie Lian. Xie Lian, for now, is very recognizable as a character. He very much feels like Xie Lian to me, however, a little bit more impulsive. That said, what we're learning about Xie Lian is that he is very observant and very aware of his own privilege. We see several instances of Xie Lian applying the logic of I will take the blame or the blow to my reputation for this because to me, it's not really that much damage. I can handle it. But to this other person, that's going to be devastating. I can take the consequences for others. Yeah, that's Xie Lian. That's Xie Lian, alright. And like, as of right now, that seems very nice and very kind and very innocent, except for the fact that that's going to develop into, I am a god, I won't die anyway. Yeah, I quite like that this is a trait that's established as a part of his character quite early on, though. He is a self-sacrificing bastard. Fucking hell. The groundwork was already there. Gosh. Furthermore, we do discover that he has a little bit of a father issue, as in he does not agree with the king of Xianle. But as the heir, Xie Lian is quite willful and has different ideas of how things should be done compared to Daddy Dearest. This in itself is quite a parallel with the young aunt situation. Much like the generation we meet in the Feng Xin era, Xie Lian himself could have been an agent for change, the generation of change. If not for the fact that he was never interested in ruling, but rather just wanted to cultivate and then, ascend, which he did very early on. I guess that to summarize, my idea of Xie Lian as this teenager running around cultivating and caring for the common people is that he is actually very genuine about it. Like I said in the last video, he is not doing it because that's what a hero is supposed to do. He genuinely sees each and every one of these people and thinks about their circumstances. It is especially apparent in the way he thinks and talks about Wuxiang, but also in how he handles this little kid that he's just saved. And despite, saying that everyone else are rocks to him, he really seems to care about this rock collection that is his kingdom. Like, he's good, he is sweet, he's got his head on right, but he is willful, he has his own ideas of how things should be done, and is not afraid to go against his father in that regard. Now, Feng Xin is also extremely familiar to us. He is already a very straightforward young man who hates beating around the bush. And like we know, he's been with Xie Lian since he was 14 as his bodyguard. There are implications that he's known him for longer than these 3 years. And one more thing that we learn about him, he is favored by Xie Lian's mother. In fact, when we get to the point where Feng Xin breaks his own arm, in order to repay having broken Qirong's arm or whatever, it's implied that he is doing it for her sake. Because she hates seeing Xie Lian and his father fight. And this situation was kind of escalating and she was being distraught by it. So that is at least one woman that Feng Xin does not fear. However, I suspect that maybe she's a little bit like a mother to him as well. This is kind of important for later. There's been no mention of his family whatsoever, which makes me think that maybe he doesn't have one. He doesn't have a mother, and therefore Xie Lian's mother has been kind of extra caring with him. But guess who does have a mother? I made a tag for mother. It's for Wuxiang. Not necessarily because he is mother, but you know, last chapter was the most mother I've seen Wuxiang be ever. But yes, he has a mother. Alive. And that's kind of important. Wuxiang. Once again, he is the character we probably learned the most about in the last couple of chapters. He is originally a servant at the Royal Cultivation Hall place that I never remember what it's called. I'm gonna write it down next time. However, his road from random servant to Xie Lian's personal attendant and trainee disciple at the hall is not as the prologue would have you think. You said you saw him sweeping, Feng Xin said to Xie Lian, which is also the story that Volume 1 tells us. However, his real introduction to Xie Lian comes through the case of the missing gold foil, which apparently fell out of a carriage, was picked up by Wuxiang, he hid it in his bedroom, wondering what to do with it, and then confessed all of this to Xie Lian over serving him tea. You know, after everyone were out looking for it. So there is this question of whether he hid it with the intent to actually sell it and use it for profit. After all, Xie Lian does have this comment of, well, it was for his mother. But when he then confesses directly to Xie Lian that he stole it or has it or picked it up or whatever, there are probably a couple of reasons for this. Wuxiang, after all, can't afford to leave this place. It is implied that he needs this job in order to fend for his mother, who is, by the way, blind. He used to do seamstress work, but can't anymore. And I think that upon, you know, talking to Xie Lian as he is, you know, serving him tea, and then knowing that all of this is going on, that if it is discovered beforehand, he is going to get kicked out, if not worse. He confesses, kind of probably banking on Xie Lian showing him some sympathy. And he does. Xie Lian keeps this secret for him, and not only that, it worked out pretty well because Wuxiang gets to train as a disciple at this temple place, the Royal Cultivation Hall place. And when I say worked out pretty well, like he's apparently on par with Feng Xin already, and also got to play the demon in the whole procession thing, which was a big deal and needed a lot of skill. Like, Xie Lian is right. He is a jade among the rocks. Oh, and another thing that this chapter plans with us is the introduction, apparently, to the saber being Wuxiang's weapon of choice. I had to go back and see if we ever saw Wuxiang actually use the weapon, and at first I was just shit out of luck, until someone reminded me that yes, he did cleave the bell in two in the first episode of Season 1. So there's a glimpse of it. But I am thinking that Xie Lian's comments about him handling the saber really well is kind of the origin story of that. Like, he was very happy with this compliment, right? That it suited him. And I think that this is maybe where that started. Anyway, fucking Wuxiang, man. Getting to know more about Wuxiang in these past 2 chapters, his circumstances and everything, like, well, it all makes sense. Everything we learn about him makes so much sense. The fact that he's from a poor background, the state preceptor doesn't actually like him, maybe because of that. He gets bullied by other disciples all the time. Like, he is in a situation where he cannot afford to step on anyone's toes because he stands to lose too much. But this wariness and this sensitivity also makes him unable to fully trust Xie Lian. And that makes a lot of his actions have these unintended double meanings. Question mark. Like, Feng Xin is partially right. If Wuxiang had been a bit more straightforward about things, a lot of these things wouldn't have happened, but he fails to understand where Wuxiang is coming from and what his circumstances really are. Whereas Xie Lian does. Circling back to Mom, Feng Xin's loyalties obviously lies with Xie Lian and, well, maybe with Xie Lian's mother as well. Wuxiang's are with his. And like I've already mentioned, that is going to be his weak point. Like, if something happens, that's going to be where the needle is pressing. Like right now, Feng Xin is way harder to pin down. So from the very start, Wuxiang and Feng Xin are very different characters, pretty much opposites already. Their one thing in common is Xie Lian and the fact that Xie Lian chooses the both of them. And in fact, they are still getting to know each other at this point in the story. For instance, Feng Xin's impression of Wuxiang is that he is a very selfish kind of person, and him treating these children to cherries here on page 341 was a little bit of a shocker to him, I think. In the end, Wuxiang reached for the gem-like red cherries in his bag and handed them out. Feng Xin was astonished at this sight, as if Wuxiang doing anything like this was nothing short of a miracle. It was no wonder, since Wuxiang's pretty boy face always looked extremely selfish and cold-hearted. He seemed like the type that, seeing someone die from starvation on the streets, would still keep a tight grip on his own food. Xie Lian, on the other hand, wasn't surprised at all. Which again really confirms that yes, Xie Lian knows more about Wuxiang than Feng Xin does at the moment, and that we as readers know at the moment. But this kind of goes both ways. I think that the scene with Feng Xin breaking his arm in front of everyone a bit later is also the first time Wuxiang sees Feng Xin act this way, though his impression of it isn't very impressed. Even though Qirong's arm was also broken, he looked energized and refreshed when he left, as if he had just won a battle. As for Feng Xin, he was still kneeling on the ground. Wuxiang stood on the sidelines watching, looking vaguely ashen, but his thoughts were otherwise unreadable. And on the next page, where the queen, who had always liked Feng Xin, sighs and says, "My child, we've wronged you," Feng Xin replies, "Please don't say that, your majesty, this was my duty." Hearing this, Wuxiang's eyes flickered, and he seemed to sneer soundlessly. So judging by this part of the text, Feng Xin finds a lot of meaning in these acts, because to him this means loyalty. Wuxiang, on the other hand, probably looks down on this. The fact that Feng Xin would sacrifice his physical health for the sake of these royals, like Xie Lian is currently fighting for him so that he won't have to do anything like that, but he still goes ahead and does it in order to placate everyone, to like calm down the situation, perhaps especially again for the queen's sake. So I wonder what Wuxiang is thinking here, but he certainly is not impressed at all with the choice that Feng Xin made. So anyway, the summary of this is I fucking love the Xianle Trio. The scene they have in Xie Lian's palace with them just messing around and being, you know, young boys who have, you know, certain responsibilities and duties, but are, in fact, you know, little martial art nerds. It's so good, and I love the fact that they're building this relationship. But I have also noted down that Wuxiang has a big weakness in the fact that he is in this precarious situation and has a family member that he cares for more than he cares for anyone else. And that's fine, but I'm betting that's going to influence some of his decisions going forward. But enough about that. We have children falling from the sky. Well, one child. The only child in Xianle. And his name is Red. 10. Well, Wuxiang origin story. I knew there was a possibility that we would go there, but oh my god, did we go there. And I know Hong is a completely fictional child in completely fictional fantasy China, but this is not a fictional situation for far too many kids out there. And if I think too hard about him, I make myself sad, so if you for some reason haven't read TGCF yet and you're still here, consider this your little warning. A warning that Hong is heavily implied to have suffered physical abuse to the point where he doesn't react to pain the way a normal 10-year-old should. Anyway, so Hong is introduced and saved by Xie Lian twice. If it happens a third time, we're officially telling a fairy tale. Oh wait, doesn't it happen a third time? It does happen a third time. It's a fairy tale now. Hongarella? But yes, this kid is not alright. And Xie Lian is the best thing that has ever happened to him. At least in a long while. Like, that care for his well-being and that kindness is something I don't think this kid has ever had. Or at least not consistently. The look he has to him in the book is described as possessed by the devil, ironically. And, well, I think that Feng Xin and Xie Lian, to whom, you know, again, this is just any old day. Well, not any old day, it's been a very busy day with a lot of shit happening. So on this very eventful day, this kid is just a comma in a list of very important things. Like, they are unaware that this comma is this kid's entire life changing. And not just because Xie Lian is very beautiful. Like, guys, the boy is 10. His essential needs are not met. He's not thinking marriage just yet. But he is thinking safe. He is thinking warm. He is thinking not getting thrown away, despite being, you know, a dirty little street rat. He is thinking about this person telling him, I won't let you get hurt, taking him to see the doctor, and, you know, meaning it. So when he is asked about, do you have a home, like the kid is taking his chances. Because if that means they will let him stay, implying now that if he does have a home, it's, you know, it's not very good. And then he is lying. Wuxiang suddenly spoke up. Because, yeah, Wuxiang might know about this kid's circumstances. They are both from the slums. And I don't know what he is about to say just yet, but we know the consequences of it. We know that Wuxiang did not come stay at Mount Taizang, right? So, I have always assumed that Wuxiang's beef with Feng Xin and Wuxiang circles back to Xie Lian. But from what we are learning here, it might very well be personal. And I'm actually dying to see what will happen next. No more delays. In fact, no mentions today, we are rushing. Yeah, so what is happening is that I'm actually traveling for work this week, so I wanted to film this last chapter of Volume 2 so that I can have something to edit on my laptop, on my off time. And you know, once I'm back on Friday, I might be ready to start doing another video soon, getting into that Volume 3. So yeah, I kind of just want to film quickly today. Get through this chapter, do our discussions, and let you guys know that I've finished Volume 2. So this is a grand occasion, but at the same time, yeah, we do be rushing. So, picking a Sanlong pen today because I am missing him. Got my tally and my notes ready. And without further ado, let's dive into Chapter 27. To ascend is human, to fall is also human. Oh my fucking god, that is already such an ominous title, but also, does this imply ascension? Are we ascending already? I mean, it's 40 pages, a lot can happen in those 40 pages. Let's roll. Xie Lian turned his head and asked, "What do you mean?" The homeless street urchins of the imperial capital all run together in a gang, and they come to my neighborhood frequently to beg for food. I know all of them, but I've never seen this child before. Ah, okay, so Wuxiang is saying he is not a street urchin. He hasn't come to beg for food. He doesn't live on the street. He has a home. That young child peered at Wuxiang and didn't say a word. Feng Xin was doubtful. Who do they beg for food from? You? And you'd give it to them? Wuxiang glared at him. If they pester relentlessly, there's no other way. Okay. So you do feed these kids. Feng Xin still thought the notion rather unbelievable, but didn't make any further commentary. Oh. Literally, oh. Like, he finds it so unbelievable that Wuxiang would actually help other people. Like, does this ever change? Like, you're met with several pieces of evidence that he actually does help people function. So when does your perception of him change, like, at all? I'd like to know. Watching their exchange, Xie Lian wanted to laugh. Oh, no laugh or cry? Besides, there are soon patches on his clothes, Wuxiang added. Judging by the needlework, it must have been done by a grown-up, sometime recently, and there is at least someone of age in his household. His family situation might not be the best, but he's definitely not a beggar. Yeah. Okay. You sussed him out, I guess. He has a family, he has adults around him currently. Xie Lian naturally would not notice the details of needlework on sewn patches, nor whether it was done by adults, but Wuxiang used to be an errand boy at the Royal Holy Temple, and he also did all kinds of chores at home. When Xie Lian looked closely, it was indeed as he had said, so he asked, "Do you have grown-ups at home?" The young child shook his head, but Wuxiang said, "There must be. If he doesn't go back, his family will surely be worried sick, looking for him." No way! There's nobody!" that young child cried, sounding like he was afraid to be sent back. And he opened his arms, reaching for Xie Lian. Fuck, I can't handle this. I can't handle this young child. Baby Hong. He was still covered with mud and blood, and Feng Xin couldn't stand it anymore. "What are you doing, kid? Things were urgent earlier, so whatever, but shouldn't you know better by now? This is the Crown Prince. His Highness the Crown Prince. Do you understand?" That young child's arms immediately shrank back, but he was still gazing at Xie Lian. "My parents were quarreling and kicked me out. I walked for a long time, but I had nowhere to go." That's the same thing that he told Xie Lian when he met him as San Lang. "My parents had a fight and I got kicked out." Oh my fucking god. Okay. Calm. The other three looked at each other in dismay. After a moment, Feng Xin said, "So what now?" One of the imperial doctors suggested. "If His Highness is troubled, he can be kept here in the palace and have a few attendants assigned to take care of him." Xie Lian contemplated, but after some thought, he shook his head slowly. At the end of the day, he was afraid Qi wouldn't give up, and he'd sneak out to cause trouble. "So, are you gonna take him with you? Like, obviously that doesn't happen, right? The way I see it, it would still be best if I watch over him until his wounds are healed. It seems his family won't be able to look after him, unfortunately. Feng Xin, when you take care of the stalls that were toppled by Qi, send some men to see if his parents can be found and let them know so they don't worry." "All right," Feng Xin nodded. One of his arms was still in a sling, but he extended the good arm to reach for the young child, intending to pick him up by the collar. Xie Lian laughed. "You're wounded. Don't worry about it." However, Feng Xin shrugged it off. "Only one arm is broken. The other is still fine. If both my arms were broken, I could still use my teeth to carry him by the collar and bring him up the mountain for you." Feng Xin is so funny, actually. Wuxiang rolled his eyes from behind him, then spoke up. "Don't bother, let me carry him." But just as he took one step forward, the child jumped off the bed himself and said, "I can walk on my own." That expression, set with resistance, spoke louder than words, and it made Wuxiang's second step extremely awkward, as he was unsure whether or not to proceed. That little child had 5 broken ribs and a broken leg, but he was still bursting with energy. Xie Lian really didn't know whether to laugh or ache for him. Laugh or ache is not the same thing as laugh or cry. This is not for the tally, huh? He settled on saying, "Stop running around." Then he bent down and picked him up. That makes me so happy. The three of them left the palace with the child in tow. Since Qi had caused havoc on the streets earlier, disturbing the townspeople and toppling a number of stalls, Xie Lian felt deeply guilty, and that he had no face to meet any of the citizens. So the group slunk around, afraid to show themselves, using only the back alleyways. The entire way, that small child was extremely docile in Xie Lian's arms. They told him to be quiet, and he uttered not a single sound. Feng Xin glared. "This brat kicked me yesterday, but look at him now. He really knows how to pick him." It's His Highness the Crown Prince. Of course he's liked more than most people, Wuxiang said. For some reason, even when he said something well-meaning, he'd still choose words that made people feel wholly uncomfortable. Feng Xin didn't want to acknowledge him anymore. After walking for a while, Feng Xin spoke up. No, I still don't think Your Highness should hold a strange child for everyone to see. What's the problem? Xie Lian said. You're the Crown Prince, Feng Xin exclaimed. While he spoke, he saw a worn-down handcart farther up the alley and said, Put the kid in that cart and pull it. Wuxiang immediately voiced, Just so we're clear, I will not pull that thing up the mountain. No one's asking you to, Feng Xin said. He reached out and yanked the child from Xie Lian's arms, and the child started struggling again. This is so fucking funny to me. They're literally like Xianle Trio trying to cart Wuxiang up the fucking mountain. Just let Xie Lian carry him, oh my lord. Never mind, forget it. Maybe someone else needs that cart, Xie Lian said. Just then, from somewhere nearby, someone suddenly called out, Are you the Crown Prince? Another immediately shouted, Yes, that's the Crown Prince. His mask fell yesterday and I saw his face with my own eyes. That's him. Catch him. Catch him? The three of them froze. Their hearts stopped. Although Xie Lian didn't think he did anything wrong at the heavenly ceremonial procession the day before, he also knew that others might not agree. To cut short, the God-pleasing martial ceremony was an ominous sign of misfortune. It was taboo amongst the nobility. And when all the excitement wore off after the fact and the people started to wonder what it all meant, they probably wouldn't be as forgiving either. Added on top of that was the havoc on the streets caused by Qing earlier in the day. The complaints must be endless. If they were surrounded now, it might end badly. Before Xie Lian could dwell on it, Wuxiang grabbed him and shouted, Your Highness, run! Feng Xin was pulling the cart and urged him to. Your Highness, I have a broken arm. I won't be able to stop anyone writing. Go! However, outside the alleyway, there was already a mass of people who were pouring in, their faces filled with excitement, blocking all viable exits. The four of them had nowhere to run, and they watched as they were surrounded by countless pairs of wide eyes. Xie Lian braced himself and thought, If anything, I'll just let them beat us down without fighting back. But unexpectedly, although the crowd poured in, it didn't pulverize them. Instead, a number of hands reached out and threw him into the air with cheers of Your Highness. Okay, so it's not an angry mob, it's a happy mob. Xie Lian was thrown into the air multiple times, but still maintained his calm and composure. The people shouted, all talking at once. Your Highness, that leap on the Grand Avenue of Divine Might yesterday was spectacular, someone praised in awe. That was such an amazing jump, really, I totally thought the Heavenly Emperor himself had descended. I had goosebumps. Another validated him. His Highness was right to save that child. Her life is a life. Do they think kids from our poor families are so different? If it were me, I'd do the same. Oh my gosh. Okay, so he's getting to be a little bit of that, the people's prince. He saved a poor, regular, commoner child. And that's giving him, yeah, the people like that. Another raged. That's right. Today there was talk of how His Highness had ruined the event, and I just couldn't stand it. If it had been a royal or a noble who had fallen, they wouldn't be saying those things. Your Highness, don't mind those people. His Highness is the one who truly cares about us. Oh no. So this is good. Like it's nice, it seems, but this is the beginning, isn't it? It's the beginning of the rise of Xie Lian, the Crown Prince of Xianle, and then the God Crown Prince, the Flower Crown Martial God, who is just so amazing and is the one who truly cares for the common people. And then when shit goes down, well, something, the higher they stack, whatever, the harder they fall. I don't remember that idiom right now, but you know what I'm talking about. Xie Lian went from feeling guilty at the beginning to disoriented halfway through until finally he was affected by the enthusiastic, cheerful faces all around. The crowd clustered around Xie Lian, and when they emerged onto the main street, more and more joined them. Feng Xin, Wuxiang, and that young child were pushed away and separated, left a long way back without any way to get through, and they could only follow along behind the parade. This large assembly of people was surprisingly no smaller than the crowd from the day before. Every time Xie Lian made a move to leave, he was forcibly dragged back in and thrown in the air without any chance of being let down. Xie Lian couldn't help but find it both funny and reassuring, and he thought to himself, the people and the state preceptor have completely opposite sentiments. It looks like I was in the right. Oh, yeah, again, like, this is a nice scene, but every single thing like this, knowing what is to come, feels so ominous reading it. Like, it's giving me like, oh my lord, my heart is sinking, even though this is a nice moment. Yeah, this is probably going to be contrasted heavily later on. I already feel it. When they reached Mount Taizang, the setting sun was ablaze, burning strong as always. Once they passed through the large entrance gates, they saw trainees and cultivators all along the long, winding stone path, carrying water buckets and firewoods, and running up and down the road. They greeted Xie Lian and company as they went, but many watched the 4 plus a cart with wonder. Feng Xin was pulling that hand cart with one hand like a perfectly diligent young black bull. Xie Lian and Wuxiang laughed with as much restraint as they could muster at first, but since they couldn't change his mind, they stopped caring. Oh my gosh, well, this is nice, this is fun. The maple grove was vast, and the wheels turned steadily. As they hiked, Xie Lian helped push the handcart from behind. He was in a good mood and casually asked the child another question. Oh my gosh, this is so nice already. This is, I'm loving it. I'm finally getting the Xianle quartet that I asked for. Sans Qi Rong. Little guy, what's your name really? Hong what? The child gazed at him attentively and answered in a small voice. I don't have a name. Oh my god. Are you kidding me? I put up a note for you and everything, Hong. Did you lie to me? Oh no, what do I do now? Does he have an actual name? Is it a nickname then? We were quite enthusiastic about this in the server. This must be like a nickname then. Xie Lian was taken aback. Your mother didn't give you a name? That young child shook his head. My mother is gone. I knew it. I fucking knew it. Sympathy sprouted in Xie Lian. Then what did your mother used to call you? The child hesitated for a moment, and then he replied, Hunger. Oh my god. Footnote. Hong meaning my son, Ready. Oh my gosh, it's just red, come on. Or just Little Red, I'm fucking dying. Little Red? You're Little Red? I need to change that note eventually. Hong, oh my god. Xie Lian smiled. That's a rather cute nickname. I'll call you that from now on. Yes, please do. Hong seemed shy whenever they talked, and he kept his head bowed low. Dusk was approaching, and lights were ignited in the palace temples on each of the mountain peaks in the far distance. Among them, the brightest was of course the highest peak, the Divine Might Summit. Atop the Divine Might Summit, within the Palace of Divine Might, it was as bright as day, and the lights gathered like stars on the peak. Xie Lian sighed as he watched. The sigh wasn't born of sadness, but from scenery that emanated such beauty and magnificence. Every bit of light within the hall was an offered everlasting lamp. Each lamp contained a devotee's most sincere prayers. The more everlasting lamps there were within a temple of a god, the more powerful that god. The chance to offer a lamp within the Palace of Divine Might of the Royal Holy Temple was difficult to buy even with 1,000 gold. Wealth, power, ability, passion, affinity, at least one of those 5 conditions must be fulfilled to enter the temple to offer light. Yet there were so many in the world who had none of those 5. The 4 of them stopped, gazing spellbound upon the palace of divine might that shone like the sun, their expressions dissimilar. Dissimilar? As in, like, they looked at it very differently? Just then, a somewhat familiar voice called out to them, "Your Highness!" Xie Lian looked back and saw a fair-faced young man hurrying towards him. It looked like the trainee who guarded the entrance of Wuxiang Palace, and Xie Lian composed himself. Xiong. I need to practice this. Oh my gosh, I still haven't practiced these. I need help. Xiong. What's the hurry? Xiong noticed Wuxiang standing behind him and felt awkward, so he spoke pretending not to have seen him. State Preceptor has been asking after you for a while. He's at the Palace of Divine Might right now, waiting for you. Xie Lian was taken aback hearing this, but he figured it had to be about the incident during the heavenly ceremonial procession the day before. Very well, thank you, Xiong. Xie Lian had Feng Xin and Wuxiang take Hong back to the Palace of Xianle. Then he headed toward the Divine Might Summit. Outside the Great Hall, clouds born from the incense vessel floated and wrapped around the Palace of Divine Might, giving it a dreamlike look. On either side of the vessel, there were long rows of bright everlasting lamps hung in the air in neat lines that made a wall of lanterns. Every everlasting lamp had the name and prayer of the light offer inscribed in proper and dignified clerical script. Once inside the hall, there were rows upon rows of even more everlasting lamps hung on each wall. The lamps offered within the Palace of Divine Might were, of course, even more valuable than the ones outside. Inside the massive temple, at the very front, the chief state preceptor was offering incense before the statue of the Heavenly Emperor, and the 3 deputy state preceptors were behind him, uniformly prostrating before the divine statue. Xie Lian nodded when he entered. State Preceptor! The state preceptors finished paying their respects before they turned to him and motioned for him to come forward. Thus, Xie Lian approached, took an incense stick, and also paid his respects with sincerity. It was a moment before the state preceptor finally spoke. Your Highness, the 4 of us have deliberated. In regards to the heavenly ceremonial procession, there are but 2 ways to resolve the problem. Okay, now they're gonna ask him to face the wall, huh? Please do tell, State Preceptor, Xie Lian said. The first method, the State Preceptor said, is to find the child who disrupted the procession. Well, we already did that. And then we shall conduct a ceremony. At the very least, one of his 5 senses must be sealed in penance. What the fuck? Excuse you? Does that mean what I think it means? Xie Lian's head shot up. No, he then repeated definitively. Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not. What the fuck? The State Preceptor nodded. I expected this response from you, so we put the weight of our consideration on the second method. Please do tell, Xie Lian said solemnly. The second method, the State Preceptor said, is to have your Highness publicly repent before the people of Xianle, ask the heavens for forgiveness, then face the wall in reflection for a month. Not possible, Xie Lian said leisurely. Okay, yeah, this is the thing from the prologue. This is the thing from the prologue, which kindly, left out Xie Lian refusing to sacrifice one of the 5 senses of a fucking child. Oh my fucking god. The State Preceptor was taken aback. We're not really asking you to face the wall to reflect. You just have to look like you are. He suddenly remembered they were before the statue of the Heavenly Emperor and immediately corrected himself. As long as you're sincere, it will suffice. Still, Xie Lian responded, No. And the reason? The State Preceptor asked. State Preceptor, when I descended the mountain today, do you know what I saw? Xie Lian asked. Not only did the people of the imperial capital not condemn the accident that happened during the heavenly ceremonial procession, they very much approved of it. This proves that the people of this kingdom all believe that the decision to save that child was right. If I were to do as you say and be punished for something correct, what would they think? Won't it only tell everyone that if we save a life, not only do we not obtain fortuitous merits, but will instead be punished for our sin? How should they think or act after that? Yeah, that's the... I suppose, like, again, this is very, like, Xie Lian is very fueled by the fact that he's just, you know, been with the people and experienced these things. But he's kind of right about it, isn't he? Like, the whole thing about heaven, right, it's supposed to be in service of the mortal realm. And if so many people believe that this was the right thing to do, it doesn't, like... Or is it more like the crowd mentality? I don't... I have to agree with Xie Lian right now. Like, it doesn't seem like a bad thing. Let's read on. Whether it's right or wrong isn't important, the Preceptor said. You must choose between the two paths. Nothing is perfect in this world. Either that child's shoulders this blame, or you do. What is going on here? Right or wrong is very important. If I must choose, then I choose the third path. Oh, third path. Here we go. Xie Lian replied. The Preceptor rubbed his forehead. Your Highness, excuse my bluntness, but why do you care what they think? Today they think one way, tomorrow they'll think another. There's no need for you to mind the small details. Trust me, people will carry on doing what they need to do and will not be touched by your actions nor use you as an example. It's best if we focus on carefully serving the ones above. Oh. Xie Lian was silent for a moment, then spoke. State Preceptor, ever since I entered the Royal Holy Temple to become a disciple here, the more I train, the more I reflect. There's actually something I've always thought but didn't dare to speak of. And what's that? The State Preceptor asked. Is it really right for us to worship and prostrate before the gods like this? Oh my gosh. Where is this going? Like, I can guess where this is going, but oh my gosh. The State Preceptor was speechless for a moment. If we don't worship the gods, then what are we to do? Go homeless? What? Your Highness thinks that the thousands and millions of devotees who come here to worship are wrong in their beliefs? Xie Lian shook his head and pondered for a moment. Then he said, their beliefs are not wrong. It's only that this disciple doesn't think it's right to prostrate oneself. He raised his head and pointed to the resplendent, scintillating great statue of the Heavenly Emperor. When humans ascend, they become gods. To humans, gods are elders, teachers, everlasting light, but they are not our masters. Therefore, we should be full of thankfulness and admiration, but never groveling worship. Just like the Shengyu and Heavenly Ceremonial Procession, I believe the correct attitude is thankfulness and shared joy, not fear, not ingratiation, not intimidation, and certainly not putting oneself in a position of servitude. The State Preceptor remained poised and silent, but the other 3 deputy State Preceptors grew restless, turning their heads back. Xie Lian continued. An accident happened. It couldn't be helped. I am willing to offer 1,000 lamps to brighten long nights, even if this is an act of self-destruction. I am not afraid. But I refuse to bow my head for something I did right. Face the wall in reflection? What have I done wrong? What has anyone done wrong? It's like how Qi committed evil, but Feng Xin, who subdued the wrongdoer, had to be punished. Where's the logic in Where's the logic in it? If the heavens have eyes, they will not condemn me for this. Oh my god, this is... Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, this is Xie Lian with the State Preceptor, and yeah, they're looking kind of alike. I kind of see it. Oh my god, Xie Lian, you're so beautiful. The State Preceptor cast his gaze elsewhere. Then, Your Highness, let me ask you, what if the heavens really do condemn you? Will you apologize then? If that should happen, then the heavens are wrong. I am right. I will stand against the heavens and defy them until the end. This is what he's saying just before he ascends. Oh my god. Okay. Okay. Is this like offensive to the heaven in any way? Like, or is this like, I don't know, like Xie Lian is saying all of this, but Zhan Wu still treated him as his favorite. So, like, does Zhan Wu agree with this or does he disagree? We're standing in his temple and everything right now. We're gonna have to see, huh? Hearing this, the state preceptor's face changed slightly and he chuckled. Your Highness, you're pretty brave to say such words. The other 3 deputy state preceptors watched him, wanting to speak but hesitated. Just then, an alarm suddenly blared outside the hall, like the ringing of multiple bells at once. Now, none of the 4 state preceptors could remain in their seats any longer, and they rushed out at the same time, dashing toward the back of the hall. Xie Lian followed close behind. They traveled through the many buildings behind the Palace of Divine Might until they came before a black pagoda. The doors to that black pagoda were open and countless wisps of dark smoke whooshed out. What is going on? The state preceptor let out a despairing scream. Where's Zhuan? Where the hell did he go? How did this happen? A number of trainee watchguards rushed over, and the one leading it was Wuxiang. State preceptor, I'm over here. I don't know what happened. The door was perfectly locked, but it suddenly opened on its own. The state preceptor pulled at his hair. Quickly, bring me a new soul-sealing jar. Soul-sealing jar? What is going on? It seems like something was opened and something came out. Dark smoke wisps, so something bad. Xie Lian charged straight inside. Within the black pagoda, the walls were covered in latticed sandalwood panels of varying sizes and shapes, stacked unevenly atop each other. Within each panel were various clay jars, porcelain vases, jaded boxes, and so on. Each of those containers had originally been secure, the red stoppers stuffed firmly in place, the mouths sealed with yellow talismans inscribed with vermilion spells. But now many were shattered, many more continued to drop off the shelves by themselves, and those not yet fallen were wobbling. Each of those soul-sealing containers had a demon or ghost who once caused havoc sealed within. Seems very smart to be keeping them all in the same place, in case something happens. A black pagoda like this existed in the back of every single temple on Mount Taizan, utilizing the mountain's pure saintly qi to keep them subdued. However, something had happened to cause this sudden insurgence, and they had all escaped. It's too late, Xie Lian shouted. He immediately kicked the doors closed. The steel lock that originally chained up the door had been broken by the resentful spirits. So Xie Lian unsheathed his sword and used the tip to draw out some characters, then plunged it down. He'd brought over 200 swords with him when he arrived at the mountain, and he'd switched the one he carried on his person almost every day. Each was a peerless, singular treasured sword. This sword, having been planted in the ground as a slant, did indeed seal the door shut, never to be opened again. Only the sounds of resentful spirits trashing in rage within the black pagoda could be heard. Okay, well done, Xie Lian. Once they retreated from the black pagoda, they looked up, and atop of each of the summits, black clouds were erupting from the black pagodas behind each temple. What the fuck is going on? All the resentful spirits were rushing to the sky, like a rolling thick smoke. They all flew toward the same place to gather. What's over there? Why are they all flying over there? Zhuan asked. Oh my gosh. Is this the creation of by Wuxiang or something? What is going on? All these resentful spirits going to the same place. The state preceptor yelled. Have you lost your brains? That's the palace of Xianle. Oh no. That's where our kids are. Oh no. The group moved like there was a wind beneath their feet, and in the blink of an eye, they arrived at the Xianle summit. On top of Mount Taizang, heavy, thick smoke emerged from countless temples across innumerable peaks and rolled over to form an enormous whirlpool above the palace of Xianle. "What's going on in that palace of yours? The evils are all being lured over. What exactly did you put inside?" the state preceptor demanded. Xie Lian was dumbfounded too. "Nothing, just..." "Just what?" Xie Lian suddenly remembered. "That child!" At that same moment, Wuxiang cried, "State Preceptor, this is bad! The Crown Prince Hall is on fire!" Oh, oops. Oops. I am so confused. Like, this all just suddenly happened. I was looking forward to, now that I was surprised that they were bringing Wuxiang, Honghonger, to the mountain, I thought maybe we'd be getting, like, cute little palace scenes that would have been forgotten, in the great beyond. But I guess we're going straight into, bad. This ain't good. Sure enough, a corner of the Xianle Palace was alight, flames bursting toward the sky, reflecting a faint shade of crimson on the black clouds above. Crimson, eh? At the foot of Mount Taizang, all those in the imperial capital who hadn't yet gone to bed witnessed the scene from afar, but they had no idea what was going on. They excitedly dragged others outside to watch in awe. "Whoa! The great gods on the immortal mountain are performing magic! What a show!" In a flash, the group arrived at the palace of Xianle. Xie Lian didn't keep too many servants, and dozens of cultivators from the other summits had hurried over, desperately drawing well water and trying to put out the fires. Xie Lian didn't see his two attendants, and he rushed straight inside. All the resentful spirits of Mount Taizang had gathered here. The palace of Xianle was practically pitch black inside and nothing could be seen. Xie Lian vaguely saw two figures in the center of the great hall and yelled, "Feng Xin! Wuxiang!" The two were defending a protection array that repelled the invasion of evil spirits, straining as they barely held on. Sure enough, Feng Xin's voice rung out. "Your Highness, don't come in! There is something strange with this child. All those things are coming for him." What the fuck? Why? Is Wuxiang Honger, is there something special about him that we don't know yet? Why? What is going on? Only then did Xie Lian notice that behind the two figures was a small black shadow kneeling on the floor with his head in his hands. He cried, "It's not me! Oh no! Oh no!" After observing them for a moment, Xie Lian shouted, "Stop holding on! Release the shield!" Wuxiang cried back, "We can't release it! If we do, those things will go crazy! Let me find the most..." Xie Lian cut him off. "No fear! Release it! Now!" Wuxiang gritted his teeth, and he and Feng Xin dropped their hands at the same time. Sure enough, with the restraints off, the resentful spirit screeched, ready to go wild. However, in the next second, Xie Lian reached out lightning fast and choked a particular wisp of black smoke. He didn't even look, just strangled that black smoke with his bare hands, gripping it firmly in his palm. The moment he caught that one resentful spirit, all the others in the crazed swarm within the palace of Xianle grew sluggish. Outside the palace of Xianle, everyone silently nodded. What was that? The main bad guy spirit? What is going on? I am so confused. In a situation where a large swarm of resentful spirits gathered in the same place, they usually follow the lead of the strongest one. Well, okay. Yeah, confirmed. Once that one was caught, the spirits would lose direction without their leader. At that moment, Xie Lian instantly recognized the strongest one and choked it, leaving it no chance. With only a squeeze, that one resentful spirit disintegrated into nothing in his palm. Fucking hell, Xie Lian. Merciless. Immediately after, the 4 state preceptors raised their sleeves and called out, "Come back!" That swarm of resentful spirits, having lost its leader, flew haphazardly around the palace like a band of headless flies, until finally they had no choice but to resign themselves to their fate, and reluctantly returned to the seals within the state preceptors' Qiankun sleeves. I have no idea how to say that. I'm just, yeah. What even is that? Qiankun sleeves, like the big sleeves on the robes. They went inside the sleeves. Do they have secret pockets? Spirit sealing pockets? Dozens of other cultivators continued to put out the remaining fires, and only when the heavy smoke had finally dispersed did Xie Lian clearly see the figures of the other three. Feng Xin and Wuxiang were half kneeled on the floor, still in shock. Behind them, the child was still holding his head, not uttering a word. The state preceptors entered and spoke after only a glance. Where did that child come from? Feng Xin said all the resentful spirits were going after him. What's going on? That's the child who fell from the city wall during the Shengyuan heavenly ceremonial procession. All 4 state preceptors were taken aback. The chief state preceptor demanded, Why did you bring him here? Xie Lian shook his head, not wanting to explain, and instead asked Feng Xin, What did he do to attract all the resentful spirits of the Black Pagodas? One of Feng Xin's arms was still in a sling, and he rose to his feet. I don't know what he did, but not long after he arrived on the mountain, as soon as he came inside the palace of Xianle, a bunch of those black things suddenly flew over from the other peaks. They were all barreling this way, swarming around him, gathering more by the minute. We couldn't get out. Xie Lian looked around at the walls and pillars inside the palace of Xianle, all burned to a crisp. What about the fire? Wuxiang, whose face was covered in soot, said. Covered in soot. Poor Wuxiang. We couldn't leave, so we had to draw an array to defend. Those resentful spirits used the candle flames as kindling and burned the curtains, hoping to force us out of the array. What is going on here? Oh my lord. Thank goodness your highness came swiftly and immediately seized their vitals. If it kept burning, we'd have been burned to death along with the array. Hearing his words, Wuxiang closed his eyes and hung his head. To the side, the 4 state preceptors had already surrounded the child, scrutinizing him closely. Oh my god, I don't like what's happening right now. I am so nervous. State preceptor, is there anything the matter with that child? No idea who's asking that, by the way. Maybe Xie Lian? It seems like Xie Lian is doing something next. So, State Preceptor, is there anything the matter with that child? If there was anything wrong, like if he were possessed by evil, Xie Lian should have been able to recognize it at a glance. In the years he had studied at the Royal Holy Temple, he had specially trained his sight, and very few things could deceive his eyes. Yet he couldn't see anything off with this child. The State Preceptor shook his head, also seeming to observe nothing amiss. So why? What? He asked the child. What's your birth date, month, year, and time? Hong seemed guarded against everyone and tense with hostility, and he only stared at him without speaking. Xie Lian encouraged gently. Just tell him. The State Preceptor only wants to tell your fortune for your own good. The moment he spoke, Hong obediently told them the time of his birth in a small voice. The State Preceptor knitted his brows and started divining with divining with pinched fingers. The people nearby watched him for a bit, then discussed in hushed voices for a bit. And at the sight of his gradually dimming expression, Xie Lian also grew more and more solemn. While the State Preceptor looked like no more than a tender 30-something young man, Xie Lian knew better than most just how powerful his shifu was, as the one ruling over the Royal Holy Temple. The chief State Preceptor of Xianle, Mei Nian Qing. We got a name. We got a name, guys. Sorry, I gotta note that down before I forget it. Mei Nian Qing. I think I've seen his initials in a comment that since got deleted. Mei Nian Qing. Nian Qing? Mei Nian Qing. I'll have to practice that. Was famed throughout the land for his divination. Xie Lian learned the art of the sword and the spells from the deputy state preceptors, but he had never learned the art of divination from the chief state preceptor himself. Which is why he can't read hands. Xie Lian, your palmistry would have been really useful, 800 years later. It was because the state preceptor told him it was an art of the streets, and as the noble crown prince, he had no need for such tricks. Xie Lian himself also had no particular interest, so he never attempted it. However, whenever the state preceptor worked his art, there were never any mistakes. A while later, more and more cold sweat was rolling down the forehead of the state preceptor as he divined. I have no idea how to say this verb. Divined, it must be divined. And he mumbled, No wonder he ruined the heavenly ceremonial procession. No wonder the spirits of the Black Pagodas grew excited upon sensing him. No wonder the palace of Xianle was burned too. This is truly what? Xie Lian asked. The state preceptor wiped his cold sweat and suddenly backed dozens of meters away. Your Highness, you really brought something you shouldn't have up the mountain. That child is toxic. Oh my fucking god. What the fuck? He bears the fate of extinction, the sign of the Star of Solitude, which comes with a footnote. I can't read Chinese, but there's stuff here. It says, the Star of Solitude. People with this sign in their fortune are said to bring great misfortune to those around them, while they themselves are fine, hence the name. This sign can be nullified with the intervention of a savior. The Star of Solitude and Sha Pu Lang are the two most devastating signs in Chinese divination. Okay. Bring great misfortune to those around them while they themselves are fine, but the sign can be nullified with the intervention of a savior. Hasn't that already happened? Let's continue reading that paragraph that, he is destined to bring destruction to all save for himself, truly the kind that evil loves most. Whoever touches him will have misfortune befall them, and whoever gets close will lose their life. What the Yo, State Preceptor sir, slow down on the horoscope reading, what the fuck? Before he even finished, there was a loud scream. Hong leapt to his feet, rushing the State Preceptor to headbutt him. Yeah, that's one thing I forgot to mention, that while all of these things are happening, we do have indications that this child fights back. Like, he bites, he scratches, and now he headbutts the Preceptor. Deserved. Although his voice was young and tender, his screams were filled with rage, as if his heart were filled to the brim with inexhaustible pain and despair. The sound made the hearts of many of those present squeeze. That young child was covered in injuries. Oh my god. There is art. And I was not ready for that art. Can I read the sentence first to cover you up a little bit? And lashed out like a red-eyed rabid dog, violent and aggressive to the extreme. The deputy state preceptors blocked Hong, and the state preceptor backed away, yelling, "Make him leave the mountain! Hurry! Don't touch him! I mean it! That fortune is too toxic! Don't touch him!" The deputy state preceptors hurriedly moved aside, and Wuxiang and Feng Xin didn't know whether to act. Seeing that everyone was avoiding him like he was a poisonous vermin, the child was shaken and started thrashing even harder, biting and screaming with all his might. I'm not! Suddenly, a pair of arms wrapped around his waist and circling his small form. A voice came from above his head. You're not. I know you're not. Don't cry now. I know you're not. The young child pressed his lips close tightly, grabbing onto the pair of snow-white sleeves around his waist with a desperate grip. He forced himself to hold back for a long time, but in the end he couldn't. A stream of tears suddenly rolled down from that round black eye, and he burst out into sobs. Xie Lian embraced him from behind and reiterated with conviction. It's not you. It's not your fault. Hong Honger whipped around, buried his face in Xie Lian's chest and wailed. This wailing contained no words, utterly meaningless, and was nothing like the sound of crying, but was nevertheless hair-raisingly dreadful. Without looking at the source, it would sound like the desperate cries of a full-grown man breaking down, or the struggling of a small beast on the brink of death, with its throat slit open by a knife. As if only by immediate death could it be relieved. Oh my fucking god. I can't look at this art. I can't. Oh my god. What is going on? Like, there's this the divination that apparently this kid has shit fate or whatever, and then everyone's just like backing away. No one wants to touch him, and then Xie Lian does. Like it's like it doesn't matter. Like, he just holds him to comfort him, despite all of this, despite the state preceptor saying these things. Oh my fucking god. This is devastating. This scene is fucking devastating. What is going on? Someone save this poor child. I mean, Xie Lian is doing. What is going on? What is he gonna say? What is happening? Xie Lian touched him. So, is that what this is? Is that what they're trying to say here? That all this stuff, this divination, like, it's all, this is the real deal, and therefore Xie Lian has just like condemned himself because of this child. Is that what they're trying to? I don't. What? We have to keep going so that we can make sense of this. What is going on? Anyone could make such a sound, but it shouldn't be coming from a child of 10 years. Everyone was shaken. A while later, the state preceptor said, I mean it. It's best if you let go. Feng Xin finally came to his senses and exclaimed, Your Highness, let go. Be careful of... But in the end, he didn't have the heart to continue. It's fine, Xie Lian said. Zhu Xiong, however, oh my god, I forgot he was there, was quite concerned for his highness's welfare and saw that Hong was smearing blood and snot all over Xie Lian's white robes, so he ran over to pull at the young child, berating him, Hey kids, stop it! Yet the harder he pulled, the harder that young child held on to Xie Lian. He refused to let go no matter what, using both his hands and feet to grip on and screaming in anguish. Several more people came forward to try and tear him away, but that just made him hang on to Xie Lian like a little monkey. Xie Lian found it both funny and pitiful. He held Hong with one hand, gently rubbing up and down that tiny, emaciated back to comfort him, while raising the other hand. Never mind, don't worry, let him be. Some moments later, sensing that the child in his arms had stopped struggling and quieted down, Xie Lian asked the people close by in a low whisper. Was anyone else hurt in the fire at the Palace of Xianle? No, Wuxiang replied. We were the only ones inside at the time. As the Palace of Xianle was burned to a crisp, Xie Lian naturally could no longer stay there. After making sure it was only the building that burned and not any of the people, those who came to help extinguish the fires started to clean up the area, feeling rather distraught from all the charred precious gems and treasures. Xie Lian wasn't concerned, however. The things he used daily were a little more exquisite than average, but other than that, Xie Lian didn't really have anything valuable inside the Palace of Xianle. The most precious items were his collection of over 200 treasured swords, but true gold feared no fire, and since those famous swords were all thoroughly tempered and themselves forged in raging flames, they were all unharmed. Once he dug them out himself, Xie Lian stored them temporarily at the Wuxiang palace that belonged to the state preceptors. As for Hong, he was still firmly holding on to Xie Lian, and after crying himself to exhaustion, he fell asleep. Xie Lian had wanted to bring him down Mount Taizang to find a safe place to settle him. But the state preceptor asked him to make a visit to Wuxiang Palace first. So Xie Lian carried the child over with him, tucking the young child in on the divan and righting the covers. Xie Lian dropped the bedside curtain and backed out of the room with Feng Xin and Wuxiang in tow. State preceptor, is this child's fate really that frightening? The state preceptor pursed his lips. Why don't you divine it for yourself? Consider all that has happened since he appeared. The three fell quiet. The moment that young child appeared, he'd fallen off the city wall before the eyes of millions, cutting the Shangyun heavenly ceremonial procession short after it only made 3 rounds. When he reappeared, Qi Rong was venting his anger by dragging him through the streets in that horse carriage, disturbing the public, and it all eventually caused Feng Xin to break his arm while Xie Lian butted heads with the king and made the queen's tears roll. This time, all the resentful spirits of Mount Taizang broke out of their seals within the black pagodas and even burned down the palace of Xianle. Indeed, his misfortune was endless, following him like a shadow. Are we for real here? Is this seriously, like, the thing? Like, I know when I was watching season 1, I got comments that, like, talked about how fate is a thing in this universe, right? But is this seriously it? Is this what we're on about? I don't know if I like that. That feels, it feels kind of off. I mean, in that case, wouldn't that mean that you can't change anything? If that is the kind of universe we're exploring, like, I feel like, I suppose that Wuxiang's story is the antithesis to that, in that he is incredibly lucky now in death. But did that just happen because he died? I don't know. This is very conflicting to me. I'm not sure if I like this as a part of this universe. But maybe it will be more explained and built up through the rest of this story. Like, maybe it will make more sense. But right now, I'm super conflicted about this. And that scene with Hong just breaking down like that because he's just so rejected by absolutely everyone around him. Like, that was so fucking heartbreaking. Like, you're ruining a child by doing that. That isolation is absolutely terrifying. Oh my god. The three fell quiet. Indeed, his misfortune was endless, following him like a shadow. Is there any way to resolve this? Xie Lian asked. Resolve it? The state preceptor asked. What do you mean? Change his fate? Xie Lian nodded. The state preceptor said. Your Highness, you haven't learned the art of divination from me. So when it comes to these matters, you really don't understand anything. If you did, you wouldn't have asked. So, can you? Xie Lian was taken aback and sat up straight. Please elaborate. The state preceptor took the teapot on the table and poured a cup. Your Highness, do you still remember that day when you just turned 6, when His Majesty and the Queen bade me to enter the palace to divine your fortune? Do you recall the one question I asked you? Gazing at that steaming cup of tea, Xie Lian thought for a moment. Do you mean the riddle of the 2 people and the cup of water? That year, the state preceptor had asked Xie Lian many questions to help tell his fortune. There were questions with answers and ones without, and with every answer Xie Lian gave, the state preceptor would have a variety of praises for the boy, making the king and queen beam with smiles. Many exchanges from that conversation were later passed around as beautiful tales. But there was one question to which, when Xie Lian answered, the state preceptor gave no commentary. Very few knew of this detail, not even Feng Xin, never mind Wuxiang. The question was, 2 people and a cup of water. The Preceptor spoke. 2 walked the desert, about to die from thirst, and there was only 1 cup of water. The one who drinks lives, the one who doesn't dies. If you were a god, who would you give that cup of water to? Don't speak yet. I'll ask the other 2 and see how they answer. The latter part was directed at the 2 standing not too far behind. Wuxiang contemplated and responded prudently. May I ask who those 2 people are, what their natures are like, and of their merits? A decision can only be made once all the details are known. Feng Xin, on the other hand, answered, I don't know, don't ask me, tell them to decide amongst themselves. Xie Lian snorted and laughed. The State Preceptor admonished, What are you laughing about? Do you remember how you answered? Xie Lian schooled his expression and said solemnly, Give them another cup. Hearing this, between Feng Xin and Wuxiang, one turned his face away and the other lowered his head, as though hiding their reactions. Xie Lian looked back and deadpanned his response. Why are you guys laughing? I'm serious. If I were a god, I would definitely give them another cup. Yeah. If you were a god, you know? The State Preceptor gently shook that cup of tea in his hand, and the tea swelled in the cup as if it had a life of its own. He continued, All fortunes in the world, good or bad, are limited. Just like this cup of water, there's only so much. Once you've drunk your fill, there'll be no more left for others. If one receives more, another must receive less. Throughout the ages, all conflicts are born from the fact that there are many in this world, but only 1 cup of water, and there is a good reason to justify giving it to any of them. You want to change fate? It's difficult, but not impossible. But if you change that child's fate, someone else's life will also be changed, and more grudges will be created. Once upon a time, you said just to give another cup of water, just like how today you wanted to choose a 3rd path. Your intention is to expand the source, a beautiful thought. But I must tell you, it's basically impossible. Xie Lian listened silently, but disagreed wholeheartedly. Still, he didn't rebut. Thank you, State Preceptor, for your wisdom. The State Preceptor drank the tea, smacked his lips, and said, Don't trouble yourself, wisdom or not. You don't listen anyway. Ellipsy reply. Oh my gosh, we have an ellipsy reply? That was the first one in the flashback, actually. I love how that is a thing again, and I love how Xie Lian got to do one. Young Xie Lian. You don't listen anyway. That's such a burn, but also I mean, he's right. You know, he knows his disciple very well. Okay, so I am very confused at what themes we're trying to go for here, but I'm just gonna keep reading for now and see if I have any thoughts at the end. Having been seen through, Xie Lian softly cleared his throat. State Preceptor, earlier today in the Palace of Divine Might, in a moment of passion, this disciple offended you. Please forgive me for my affront. The State Preceptor shook out his sleeves and smiled. You're my favorite disciple, as well as the Crown Prince. How could I not forgive you? Your Highness, I can tell you that you are the most beloved by the heavens I have ever seen. Xie Lian didn't understand, so he listened closely. The State Preceptor continued. You have the innate talent, the ambition, the heart, and you're not afraid of hard work. You have a prestigious background, but still have a compassionate nature. No one is more worthy of the title Darling of the Heavens. Still, I am worried about you. I'm afraid there will be a trial you won't be able to pass. And that is? Xie Lian asked. Although you've already reached such a height, there are some things that you are still far from understanding and that others can't teach you. Like that speech you made today at the Palace of Divine Might, that bit about not worshipping gods or something. Very few are able to think that far, and that you managed to arrive at such opinions at such a young age is already impressive. However, Do not think yourself to be the only one in the world who has had such thoughts. Xie Lian's eyes widened slightly. The State Preceptor continued. The things you spoke of today have already been said by others decades or maybe centuries ago, but their words never gained momentum. Their voices were too small, so not many heard. Have you ever wondered why that is? Xie Lian pondered briefly and replied. Because even if they thought of it, they never acted on it and weren't determined enough. What about you? What makes you think you're determined enough? The State Preceptor asked. State Preceptor, do you think I can ascend? Xie Lian asked. The State Preceptor gave him a look and said, If you can't ascend, then no one can. It's only a matter of time. Xie Lian smiled. Then you just watch, sir. He pointed to the sky. If one day I ascend, I will surely do all that I said today and become a power to behold. Feng Xin and Wuxiang, who were standing behind him, both unconsciously held their heads higher after hearing this declaration. Feng Xin's lips curved upward, and the light shining in Wuxiang's eyes were exactly the same as Xie Lian's. The State Preceptor nodded. Very well, I shall wait and see. However, I don't think it's a good thing for you to ascend too early. Let me ask you, what is the path? Xie Lian inclined his head. As you have said, that which is walked is the path. Indeed, the State Preceptor said. But you haven't walked enough, so I think it's time for you to take a walk down the mountain. Xie Lian's face lit up. The State Preceptor continued. You're 17 this year. I will permit you to descend Mount Taizang and gain some experience through travels on the outside. That's excellent, Xie Lian exclaimed. Every day he spent at the imperial capital just thinking about the king, Qing, and everything else, Xie Lian couldn't help but feel crabby. Plus, now that such a magnificent palace of Xianle had been torched, he wouldn't be able to avoid another bout with his parents, so why not go farther away and focus wholly on walking his own path? Just then, the State Preceptor added, Your Highness, throughout the ages, there's a saying that's been passed down like it's self-evident truth, but it's actually wrong, and no one has ever noticed. What saying? When humans ascend, they become gods. When humans fall, they become ghosts. Xie Lian gave it some thoughts. Is there something wrong with that? The State Preceptor replied. Of course it's wrong. Remember, when humans ascend, they are still human. When they fall, they are still human. Xie Lian chewed on those words, and the State Preceptor patted him on the shoulder and glanced behind. In any case, as for that child, don't take it to heart. Everyone has their fate. Many times there won't be a way to help just because you want to. If anything happens, we'll deal with it then. Go out and experience the world. I pray that when you return, you will have matured. However, that very night, outside of everyone's expectations, that child escaped from the royal holy temple and disappeared. Oh! Okay. Well, yeah, after experiencing that, I guess that makes sense, but it seems like the State Preceptor had kind of like agreed to let him stay, and then he ran away, so another AU premise there to explore. And even further outside of everyone's expectations, after his travels at the age of 17, Xie Lian, the crown prince of the kingdom of Xianle, soundly defeated the nameless ghost at Yin Bridge. Oh no, are we ascending already at the end of this fucking chapter? Just like that, he ascended to the heavens amidst roars of thunder and lightning. It was the sensation of the three realms. And that was the end of Heaven Official's Blessing, Volume 2. Are you for real with me right now? The story continues in Volume 3. For real with me. So Hong escapes from the Royal Holy Temple and disappears. Xie Lian ascends. After going on his little travel and defeating that nameless ghost at Yin Bridge, So we don't get to see that scene. That's just left to nothing. Maybe later they'll be like reminiscing about this scene. But we've reached Ascension. We've reached first Ascension on the timeline. But is this it? Is the story, like, are we done with the Xianle past now? Are we gonna go back to... Gosh, I am so confused about what to think about this chapter. Like, guys, there's so many new interesting things going on in this chapter. But it was heartbreaking. Like, I was tearing up so badly reading that. Oh my gosh, I don't even, like, I was already like feeling pretty emotional, and then the art of Xie Lian just holding Hong Hong. And again, being the one person to accept him and comfort him when everyone else is rejecting him. Oh my lord. I feel so bad for this child, and at the same time, like, so confused. Like, how important is all this horoscope shit that this guy is coming up with? Mei Nian Qing. Where do you get off traumatizing kids with reading bad horoscopes for them? What is going on? So I guess that lost him like 1,000 aura points in my point of view. Actually, his friendship ended with the state preceptor of Xianle. That was not very teacher of you. I did not like that. But again, like that brings us to this problem, which is now, how important is fate really in this universe? Because I know it is important, and apparently it cannot be exchanged. Well, it can be exchanged, but that means that you're taking it from someone else. But isn't that what ends up happening anyway? Because Xie Lian was set out to become very successful and have all this luck, but he's ended up, you know, he's gonna lose his kingdom, he's gonna lose his family, he's gonna lose everything. And I guess, I mean, I suppose Wuxiang became luckier in death, but how lucky really is that if you're already dead? But is that kind of what happens? Like, does Xie Lian end up trading some of his luck to Wuxiang, to Hong Hong, so that he is gonna, I don't know, live a better life, but then ends up trading too much? Like, they're exchanging their fates? Like, okay, so exchanging fates is gonna be a thing. Gotta get my pen and make some notes here. And apparently Wuxiang's big horoscope thing is like the Star of Solitude or whatever. It's bad. It's really bad. This one ends something else. Maybe I'll note that down. Star of Solitude. And the other one was Shapulan. It's not your fault. I'm gonna fucking cry again. Yeah, I really, really don't know what this is about. But from what I'm gathering, like, I'll have to read this again. I feel it was very confusing, but from what I'm gathering, Xie Lian is saying, well, I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna become that god who does these things that I perceive as right. I am going to make more good fate and fortune, I suppose. I suppose that's kind of what he's trying to do, right? He's gonna be the one with the determination to take that extra step. And we know that this doesn't go well. But I want to feel hopeful for him, but I know that this doesn't go well. Why doesn't it go well? Because Xie Lian has all that determination, right? Like, if anyone would, he could. Even the state preceptor says so. He's never seen anyone like Xie Lian. Like, even if other people decades or centuries ago said these things that Xie Lian is saying, no one would do it like him. Like, even he has faith in him. Like, from the last few sentences, it felt to me like he was even like, yeah, we'll deal with shit when it happens with this child, but it seems like he was determined to be like, well, we'll take care of him and see what happens. And then Hongong'er ran away because, you know, that was a traumatizing moment, and, you know, Xie Lian was gonna travel, so, did Hongong'er run away before Xie Lian went traveling? Like, is this a case of, I don't want to stick around because I don't want to make him have worse fate, luck, die? Because that's what he said. That's what the horoscope guy said. God, I think we need to, God, I think, this is unfortunate. This is a very unfortunate situation. And if all of these things are the rules of this universe, that's so shit. But also explains why things are about to go to shit. So, okay. I guess I'm just gonna roll with it for now. I'm not sure how I feel about this as a part of the world building, but it's, you know, it's a bit whatever. I did like Xie Lian's whole spiel about, well, what is heaven really? They're just humans who have, you know, ascended, and yes, we should be respecting these gods and looking up to them, but worship? Aren't they just like us? Like, I understand where he's coming from there, but from what we've been learning, it's the worship that gives the gods their powers, or is it just you know, general prayers and, you know, offerings? It's still worship though, right? So if people didn't worship the gods, they would cease to exist anyway, right? I don't know, maybe I'm just overthinking things. Maybe things are fine as long as you do your prayers and do your little incense sticks or whatever, but you shouldn't be groveling, you know, at their feet, is what Xie Lian is saying. That's why he refuses to bow down even to John Wu. And I wonder how the gods in heaven feel about this, because, I mean, Xianle, heaven's delight, he ascended, and apparently Sky Daddy liked him quite a bit, so maybe he is not too averse to this line of thought, you know? But then, you know, all the other things happen. I don't know. I need to know how these things are going to happen now. I need to know what happens, and I need to know why Xie Lian got involved, how he got involved, and what was the thing that made that was the drop that made the cup overflow, you know? I am so ready to understand, but this book has nothing left to give. Yeah, this was the end of volume 2, and the next book is volume 3, the Titanic one, which is over here in my windowsill. Oh, fun long. You shouldn't have. You really shouldn't have. That is so kind of you. That is so nice of you. I wish all the mini dolls in this household were this helpful. Do you like the cover of this one, Sundown? Isn't it nice? Isn't it neat? God, they're gorgeous. I can't wait to see if this is an actual scene in the story, because so far all the covers have been scenes in the story. So are you telling me that we're gonna go underwater and stare longingly into each other's eyes? Like Celine hit it. Anyway, I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of things I'd like to talk to you guys about, and a lot of things that I need to do before I leave tomorrow, like pack my bags. Yeah, I need to pack those bags. Wanna do the outro with me? Join me for the outro, Sunlong. Let's do it. This has been Amelia, aka Spaced Out Puffin, and I will see you for volume 3.